I want to take a moment to tell you about one of my sponsors. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Yes, I even use it. So let me explain more. Anchor is free. Yes, completely free. Why are you paying for a podcast host when you don't have to? Anchor makes it easy to migrate your podcast from your existing host that you're paying monthly or yearly for. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You also have the option to upload your own mixed and produced episodes. And it seriously is that easy to upload and edit from your mobile device. I do it all the time. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So whether you've already established yourself or you're just starting out, it's seriously everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So here's what you need to do. Download the free Anchor app to get started or go to anchor.fm, ANCHOR.FM. Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 19, yes 19, of the 99% Local Podcast. I want to hear from you guys, the listeners. Visit the website at 99percentlocalpod.com or drop me a line at 99percentlocalpod@gmail.com. If you're on Instagram and follow the podcast, you may have noticed that over the last week and a half, I was running a giveaway for a book that was donated by my episode 9 guest, Brittany Shaw from Hidden Stories 615. Go listen to that episode if you haven't already. Look for many more of these types of giveaways coming later on down the road. This week's guest is a writer, singer-songwriter, podcaster, and creative currently living in the Nashville area. It has not been an easy road for Naomi Van Winkle, and she's now diving into the healing process, facing all of her fears from the past and addressing each of her negative thoughts and feelings one by one. Naomi was born into a religious group in Connecticut which disguised themselves as a Christian church. This group used fear and high-pressure tactics to interrogate and manipulate, and this type of discipline within the group was very common. So after many years, Naomi is finally telling her story through a podcast called Cult in Connecticut, in which she's sharing her experience of being born and raised within this cult and the journey of healing from the pain and darkness she's experienced growing up. Throughout her podcast, she's also sharing stories from others who went through similar experiences in this group. Naomi has also written a short memoir that details more of her personal experiences. By day, Naomi is an entrepreneur in the Nashville area running her own wedding planning business. Typically, when you hear the word cult, you think of Jim Jones, David Koresh, Heaven's Gate, or even Charles Manson. Whether the word cult or sect, both are very loaded words. I just want to make it clear that I feel very strong about the difference between what is actually classified as a cult versus an authentic religious organization. I don't want to dive much deeper than that because I am a person of faith, and to be honest, this is a touchy topic. I'll leave it at this. Written down, the signs seem clear. Opposing critical thinking, isolating members and penalizing them for leaving, emphasizing special doctrines outside Scripture, seeking inappropriate loyalty to their leaders, crossing biblical boundaries of behavior. This is a tough topic to tackle, and I have a ton of empathy for what Naomi has experienced throughout her life. While myself or you all may not agree with Naomi's faith journey since starting on her path of healing, or even if you do, I feel this may have been one of the first times on this type of platform that Naomi has been able to open up and speak, clearly and publicly more about her spirituality. I want to encourage you all to subscribe to her podcast, Cult in Connecticut. And if you want to find out more, visit her website at cultinconnecticut.com. All right, let's dive into my conversation with Naomi Van Winkle from the Cult in Connecticut podcast. All right, so this is going to be unique but interesting nonetheless. So just to give you a little intro myself, so I'm chatting with Naomi Van Winkle. You're an entrepreneur in Nashville. You've also written a book and have a podcast about your experience of being born and raised within a cult. And you've been on a journey of healing from the pain and, you could say darkness you experienced growing up. So how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Chris.
We chatted earlier on before this, some of these topics are difficult to talk about and dive into at times. So share what you want to share, and whatever else there is, we'll leave to your podcast.
Yeah. So I was born in Connecticut. My family was part of a church growing up. They were part of this church group. They labeled themselves a non-denominational Christian church. It looked pretty normal from the outside, but it was intense. There was a prophet at the head of the church. The prophet was a grandmother from England, and when she felt things or thought things, the group believed that those things came directly from Jesus, that those were messages from Jesus. So those things were mainly negative and controlling, such as a member might be doing something wrong. Like, let's just say you are doing something wrong. You are in sin. You need to repent, and Jesus is not happy with you. So the group would talk about love, and they would talk about God being great and loving, but then they would also talk about if you're lukewarm or on the fence, then God will spew you out of his mouth. And they believed you could lose your salvation. So if you died and if you did something wrong and you died, Jesus would basically say, depart from me, I never knew you. They used that a lot. So the environment was really fearful, and it was negative, and it has affected me in all different ways. In my adult life, I have carried these things with me wherever I go. I have decided to face the demons, face the past, face my childhood.
Yes. Yeah, so what got you into wanting to do a podcast about this?
So I have gotten to a place in my life where I was ready to dive in and really look at the past and face this stuff. Mostly, for the past however many years, and I talk about this in my book. I wrote a little short memoir about my childhood, and it has a little more details. The podcast has a bunch of details about my childhood, and then my book does have different, more details about my childhood. But basically, I've always talked about growing up in this church, and I have never known really how to explain it to people. I've basically avoided talking about it, and I just kind of felt like a black sheep at times, where maybe I wouldn't be understood, or people would look at me differently. So I've kind of avoided the whole subject and just tried to be this thriving person in society where no one will ever suspect anything is weird from my childhood. But it kind of takes a toll on you, these things that I was taught, some of these negative and fearful beliefs, it has taken a toll. It has, I have had lots of anxiety or worry or fears. I have had negative thoughts and negative feelings throughout the day, and it has affected me. So I have decided that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to heal and be free from that, and be free once and for all, and not have these things holding me back and always weighing me down. I always felt like there's this darkness kind of weighing me down, and instead of looking at it, I always tried to resist it and just want it to go away instead of actually. So there's a lot of great speakers and authors out there that will say you have to face your darkness, and so that's really what I did. I was really inspired by a few things. I talk about it in the book. I was really inspired. One of the things was the Leah Remini Scientology and the Aftermath. That really, that made the light bulb go off in my head when I watched that. Just like, wow, I'm not the only person. I'm not the only person out here that has been affected by this kind of controlling and fearful environment, and I can't believe I'm not the only one. It was almost like this light bulb went off where I can't believe I'm not alone. And I'm a part of this. I'm a part of this topic in society, and I need to face it and talk about it and be open about it. And I really feel like that will set me free. So that's kind of got me thinking, okay, I'm going to dive in and look at this and do something and to heal myself. And I'm ready. And I didn't know what I was exactly going to do, what project I was going to work on, but I am a very creative person. So I knew it was going to be, music or art or, something creative. And I didn't know exactly what it would be, but it ended up just kind of falling together. The pieces kind of fell together where I started talking to prior members. I started doing a lot of research about the group I grew up in because, see, I was a child in the group and I didn't have the perspective of adults. I didn't understand the inner workings of the group because I was a child. So I'm trying to understand the group more so that I can understand my own wiring and, my own thought patterns and stuff. So I can try to deprogram myself and figure out why in the world am I, having these fearful thoughts or, these nightmares or whatever it may be. And so I talked to several prior members that were willing to support me and be a part of my healing journey. And thank goodness, I'm so thankful. It ended up working out perfectly. And I know you have a ad about Anchor, and I do too. And that's what I used. I just was like, you know what, I'm going to play around with this and see what happens. And it just really did fall into place perfectly. And I'm so proud of it. It's one season, it's 8 episodes, and I'm so proud of it. I tell my story in episode 1, and then there are episodes where I interview other people and they tell their stories of the same, their experiences within the same group. And it really was eye-opening. I learned a lot, and it was definitely pivotal in my healing. It just almost launched my healing to a whole new level. It really did. It almost like sped it up for me. It was great. It was absolutely powerful to work on a project like that.
Yeah. I just finished listening to episode 8 actually. So, and it's just really impactful, and it's just, it's almost surreal because, it's kind of like the stuff you see and hear in movies, but it's actually going on in real life and has been going on. So, these people that you interviewed, did you know them already from years past, or how did you go about finding them?
Well, I contacted a lot of prior members, and if the prior members are listening right now, they know they were contacted. Likely they were contacted. I contacted every prior member I could possibly think of, and their sister and brother and their parents. And, because I wanted to see, can we all rally around and can we all group together and do something? Can I work on one creative project and they work on another creative project? At the beginning, I was like really on fire and wanting to do, a bunch of stuff. And, but honestly, a lot of the members were not in a place where they were either willing or able, just maybe they are not interested, or they're not, able because they're just not in a place where, it's just too difficult or too dark to do it. They're not ready, whatever. There was a lot of people that they weren't able to participate, but there were those people that did say, yes, I want to be a part of this, and I want to be a part of your healing journey. And they believed in the project from day one. Seth was one of those people. Jane was one of those people. Jocelyn was one of those people. And then Danielle and Nancy joined in. And Nancy, it was hard for her to share her story. It was hard for all of us. It's really difficult. I didn't realize how difficult it would be until it was about to be released. And I was like, do I even want to do this? Can I do this? Because it was a little terrifying. I definitely felt a lot of fear. But it's just a very vulnerable thing to share your story. And just because like you said, it's something that not many people know about this group yet. And this is just completely different. It's like a Christian church, but
Yeah.
it's like, I keep saying it's like a Christian church on crack. There were things about it that were so weird and so crazy, and so twisted. You know, there are more and more topics that I haven't even been able to address yet. But yeah, it is surreal for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing that really stuck out at me, it was like, oh man, was your story about getting baptized. You know, you thought you were doing it, you know, because of your own faith and proclaiming your faith, you know, to Jesus. But in reality, you know, I think you said you felt like you were actually being indoctrinated into this group, kind of like an initiation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly, I couldn't have said it better myself. I felt that, I was really excited at the time because I thought it was going to be this, you know, I thought that what I was saying was, okay, I'm going to make this commitment to be a seeker for the rest of my life. Like, I'm going to always seek for the divine, you know, and never stop and stuff. And I look back and it makes me sick. It really disgusts me because the person that baptized me was the person that, I'll just tell a little bit of my story, how twisted this is. And there's more about it on the podcast, but basically when I was like a child, I was sitting in the back seat of this minister's car, and he high pressure forced me to confess to having lust in my heart. And I didn't know what that word meant. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what anything like that it was about. But I didn't have a choice. There wasn't any choice in the matter. They would high pressure people to confess to all these weird sins, these disgusting, weird, perverted things. And they were almost fixated and obsessed with this, you know, sexual sin topic. And so the same person that forced me to do that, you know, then baptized me. And then there were all these things that happened after I was baptized and before I was baptized. And it just led me to believe that, you know what, I wasn't really being seen as this person, that I was being baptized for this reason of like something to do with a spiritual thing. It was more like, this is part of the group and it was just this controlling thing. It was almost like a control tactic and not actually something that was like a spiritual experience.
Yeah, no, I follow completely. So you put out this book as well. What was the timing of the book? Did you align that with your release of the podcast?
Yes, I aligned it, and I just wanted to cover all of my bases, and that pretty much was like the main reason why I did it. And also because there were some things that after I did my episode, I was like, oh, I kind of forgot to mention this. This is kind of important. So I kind of added those things into the little book. And the book is very short. It's my first book. And one of the reasons why I wrote it is because I really want to write more. And I wanted to just get started and just like, no more excuses. Let's just get started. And so it's not the best book in the whole entire world. Okay. But, so don't expect too much, but at the same time, it's a quick read, but there's some good details in it. And it's going to kind of give you a little taste of what's to come, because I really do want to dive into writing more. And as I write, I remember more details, which is amazing. It's like unlocking, but I hope it doesn't unlock too many memories, because there are still ones that I'm sure that my brain has blocked out that probably should be blocked out, that I would rather them be blocked out. But yeah, as I write, I remember, oh my goodness, yeah, this happened. Or, you know, I also have nightmares about this. I have lots of nightmares still. I still have tons of nightmares, but you know, this whole project has been helpful with that. It's been making them, I guess, slowly just dissipate.
So I know, you know, a lot of hardcore non-believers that consider pretty much any organized church to be a cult. That's not true at all. So, I mean, to you, you know, what are some of the major defining characteristics of a actual cult?
Oh, that is so tough because I am like not the not the educated person to ask. But I have a lot of those friends too. I have friends that are atheists, I have friends that are still, strong Christians. I have friends that are just all different in all different places with their faith, with their belief in Jesus or not, non-belief in Jesus and all of that. I have friends that are angry. I have friends that are, never going to believe in that, or some friends that are on the fence. I mean, whatever. I mean, I just have friends that are in all different places. And I think the bottom line for me, this is just for me personally, is I personally believe that we are just all brothers and sisters. And, love should not be traumatizing. Love should not feel like it's rejecting you or judging you. I guess I've always believed in love. Even when I was little, even when I was in this group, I always believed that there is something about this group that this place that is not the real God. It's not true. It's not love. I never believed that, I believe love can heal wounds, like real love. Put religion aside for a second. True love, and this is in, all the Christmas movies, the Christmas miracle movies, all the good movies that we love that, have that redemption story in it or reconciliation story in it, that is where that rings true to each of us as that is true love. So, if we love each other as brothers and sisters, if we see each other as brothers and sisters, if we are able to be kind and gentle to each other, to our neighbor, to see our enemies in that way, to actually care for our enemies and have compassion on them, then we have reached something that is divine and powerful, and that is what can heal things. You know what I mean? So
yep.
that is something that is real and true. And I don't think that could have been found in this place, because this place, let me tell you, there was something in this group, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. But basically what I think that there was in this group, where there was these people that had this need or this desire, or I would even call it an addiction to being right, to knowing everything. They had to know all the right answers. They had to be right. And they always wanted to feel better about themselves. They always wanted to feel better or more spiritual than someone else. And they judged people. They judged every person. They judged every situation. They judged themselves. They judged the world. So they were very critical of themselves and others. They were very hard on themselves and others. And they always just sized things up to, should I label this right or wrong? Like, is this, are you right or wrong? Are you in sin or are you not in sin? Are you going to hell or are you not going to hell? And so everything was just like this black and white thing. And I don't think that they understood that what they were believing was harming and damaging people. So, if it's harming and damaging people, and it's making you treat others poorly or look at others in a negative light, if it's separating you from people instead of bringing you together with them and reconciling with them and making you look at things in a way that's healing to you and that other person, then it's not healthy. It's not going to be good for people. It's going to harm the world. It's going to harm people. And that's what this place did. And it's had long-lasting effects on so many people. And I don't think that they understood how damaging this would be. But the effects have gone so far. It's been like a ripple, like a stone in the water. And it's just like this ripple effect it's affected so many people. And it's each person individually, it has affected, there's layers and layers and layers of this. Where, as I'm on my healing journey, I'm trying to dive in. There are just layers and layers and layers, because I was a child and I was taught so many things about, negative ways of looking at myself, negative ways of looking at other people, that nobody else is safe, nobody else is right, nobody else is, on the right path. Jesus is unhappy with them, Jesus is unhappy with me. all of these things that were super negative and based in fear, and it's just really, really hard to undo that. That goes really deep into your psyche and into your heart,
The typical protein bar is dense, gritty, and difficult to chew, and let me be honest, it tastes like chalk most of the time. Not Built Bar. The texture is light and fluffy, and it is covered in perfectly tempered exotic chocolate. That's why Built Bar is the #1 rated protein bar in both texture and taste. With each bite you take, you will think you are cheating on your healthy eating or diet, indulging on a chocolate dessert. There isn't a more delicious way to get your protein. Built Bars are gluten-free, contain no artificial flavoring or coloring, no artificial preservatives, no GMO, no wax, no junk. My wife and I ordered our first box back a few months ago and now can't turn away from them. Besides the amazing taste with only 110 calories and packed with 15 grams of protein, it will definitely satisfy your cravings or sweet tooth. Listen to some of these flavors: coconut almond, peanut butter, orange chocolate cream, banana chocolate cream, that's my wife's favorite, mint brownie delight, and more. Right now, if you go to 99percentlocalpod.com/builtbar, you can purchase a 6-bar bestsellers box for only $9.95. That way, you can figure out which is your favorite for your next order. If you want to skip the bestsellers box and put together your own combination of flavors, I'll also give you 10% off your first order. Again, all you need to do is head to 99percentlocalpod.com/builtbar. That's BUILTBAR. Is this group still around today?
Well, that is a complicated question. There were 2 churches. There was one in Connecticut and one in England, and they kind of teamed up and they formed one church. They were called sister churches. That's what they called themselves. So there was a sister church in England and a sister church in Connecticut. And there was a prophet of the church, I've mentioned that. And she was in England. And so people would travel back and forth. So the group in England, the church in England, has shut its doors, and you can look it up online. It was called Bethel Church, and then it changed into International Church. Both of these churches have changed their names multiple times. But if you can do your research, do your due diligence, you can find the answers. But you can see that there are news articles, there are even videos, like news stories about the church in England. They shut down. I don't really know exactly what happened, but it went bankrupt. Now, the church in Connecticut, that's a whole other matter. I mean, that would take a long time to probably get into, and
no, that's fine. Are you planning another season of podcast episodes?
I am trying to see kind of what happens with this. I'm trying to see what happens with season 1. I'm really trying to grow our audience and promote it and see where I can take this. And so far it's going really well, but I want to take it as far as it can go to see if, it's worth it to do season 2, if it's something that I really need to dive into. It was very dark. It was a very dark journey, and it was very difficult at times, so I'm not going to dive into it unless, there really is the audience for it, and, people really want it. And, but it is still it is still a masterpiece to me. It is still a work of art. And I do think that everybody should listen to it from beginning to end, because it kind of builds, and, I kind of did everything strategically, you left certain details in to be kind of reiterated, of people to validate each other and corroborate each other, and which was such this beautiful thing, because I didn't talk to anybody about it. I didn't tell anybody what to say. I let them say their story their way, and they all, a lot of them they included the same details as each other. So it was great, because it was so validating to hear that all of these people had, the same experiences and remember the same stuff. Because sometimes I would question myself, did this really happen? Is it all in my head? Because I didn't talk about it to anybody for a long time.
It's so common too in churches today, even those that are not cults, when something bad happens or someone doesn't like something, they just walk away from their beliefs altogether. So this whole experience, this isn't probably a short answer, but how has it affected your faith journey and even your thoughts on organized religion?
Yeah. Well, that is like the question. That is the question everybody asks me. It's super difficult to talk about, which I'm happy to do. I'm happy to explain. But it's super difficult to talk about because it's so personal to me. It's so personal. It's not personal to the point where it's like, no one else has the right to know or anything. It's more like it's so precious to me. I've had several people hear me on other interviews and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you're struggling with your faith." And I told them, like, well, first of all, I feel like they didn't mean to do this, but I feel like that's kind of judgmental because that's not really saying like you're struggling. It is kind of, I'm judging you, kind of like I'm sizing you up. And we were kind of taught to do that growing up. So I don't really blame them. But it's just one of those things where I'm not struggling at all spiritually. I feel, in fact, the opposite. The more that I let go, because see, I grew up in that church environment. Then I was still a conservative Christian for a long time. I was a worship leader in a charismatic church. Then I was worship leader in a regular, kind of non-denominational church. Then I was, kind of more of a liberal Christian. And now it's like, well, I don't really know what to label myself because it's painful to even think about because, I kind of basically have come to the conclusion of other people can judge me. If you believe that, if you want to tell me that I'm not a Christian or I am a Christian, I've kind of come to terms with that and have realized like I gotta be okay with that. I gotta be okay that that's just them, still in that mindset of I have to judge whether or not you're going to hell and I have to judge where you stand and I have to know, I have to label you as like, you're a sinner, you're lost, So I kind of bring it back to this whole thing of, okay, what do I believe? And what I truly believe is there has always been something with me my whole life. Now, I do not believe that this divine thing inside of me that I feel constantly because it's inside of me. So it's never left me. Okay, so I don't believe, this is just for me, my beliefs, okay? I do not believe that being cares what it is called. I don't think it cares. I don't think that it cares for you if you no longer can call it Jesus or a man or God, or if you need to call it the universe, if you need to call it, energy, if you need to call it the divine. I don't believe that it cares anymore. I think that it is pure love. I think that it is pure love. It is gentleness. It is kindness. It is healing. I believe that, I had this, I guess you would kind of call it a vision or something. I don't know. I was kind of praying, meditating, which is a whole other subject, like prayer versus meditation. Like what is, the right thing, or I don't know. But, I kind of do like a combo of like prayer meditation because see where I was growing up, they believe that meditation was like a sin and like anything to do, if you do not call it something, everything was just very, very black and white. So, but I feel that meditation has been very helpful for me because it has kind of gotten me out of my head. And I think that a lot of Christians, when they're praying, they're just in their head and they're kind of regurgitating their own fears and worries. And that's not really the point. I think the point is like, to be light and easy and kind of be free, and to not have fear anymore and to feel peace. And I think those are all, universal wise truths from the Bible. So I went through this period in my life where I was extremely angry, and I really did think, like, not that I was an atheist, but I was kind of like, I really see their point. I really empathize with their situation. Yeah. And then I really empathize with the Christian situation too, because I feel like there are really amazing things about the Bible, and you can't deny it. And there's really amazing things, but there's really amazing things everywhere. It's not just in the Bible. You're trying to tell me that there's love and healing and power can only be found in the Bible? No, love and healing can be found in being by yourself and just like meditating. Love and power can be in anything you do. Now what I'm really starting to learn is that love is found in every single thing that you do, like your daily experiences, like your daily life. Like, as I just play with my children and really give my heart to them and really be present with them and really love them, I'm healing myself, and I'm giving them love. That is a really healing experience. So it's not just found in one place. I think that a lot of times the conservative Christians probably think it can only be found in the Bible, but I think what I think would be great is if some of the people that are on the side of like the atheist, angry side, I think it would be great if they could just simply just try to ask themselves, like, can I believe in love again? Like, not romantic love, but just like unconditional love, because I feel like we've been hurt and harmed so much by the church and by religion and by these rigid beliefs that have like been so damaging and have made us feel rejected and judged. And I don't feel like that is true love. And in the Bible, it says that God is love. And love is gentle and love is kind. This is all in there. Yep. So, the Bible, it can be used as a tool to help heal people. And it can also be a tool to harm people. And it has been used as a tool to hate people and to be angry and to be filled with ego, like I'm right and I know the answers. And that is not the true message. I don't believe those are the true messages. The messages are deep in there and you have to search for them. And a lot of times, you can find them if you just quiet yourself. Like it says, be still and know that I am God. He's not saying that I am a man and you need to know that I am this man out there. He's saying, just be still and then you will feel peace. But can you be still? Can you quiet your mind and just really, truly be still? And then, so there are these messages in the Bible. They're all in there. So even if you believe in science or you believe in something else, all the messages that, the bottom line is love. And the love is going to feel good.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing all that. I didn't expect you to get as detailed as you did, but that's
I'm sorry.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's part of your journey and, your, the after effects of this. So, on your episode, you kind of left it with a cliffhanger. You talked about how you applied for college, and that was kind of your escape route to get out. So let's kind of transition to talking about, going to college and how you eventually came to Nashville.
Yes. So I did apply to college behind my mother's back, and college was not accepted or allowed. That was kind of one of the rules in the church. It was like an unsaid rule that you could not basically go to college. And if you wanted to go to college, you would have to commute and go to a college close by so that you didn't miss any church service or any church function, like prayer meetings and things like that. So I did apply to college behind my mother's back. And then basically when I went to college, she cut ties with me and I basically lost everyone, lost all my friends, family, lost everyone, and had to start my life completely over at age 18. And I went to a college in Connecticut and I went for creative stuff. I'm a very creative person. I've always been creative, and the church really didn't support that. And my family didn't really, I don't want to say that they didn't support that. I did get piano lessons. My mom brought me to, like when I was in school plays, she would bring me to the practices, the rehearsals and things like that. But when I say that they didn't support it, what I mean is that they just, you're not allowed to get excited or to really talk about it because it's not number one priority, and it cannot be number one priority. You cannot get too excited about anything except that group, except Jesus Christ. That's it.
Yeah.
So if you are not showing that you are this subservient servant to the Lord, then, and that's your number one priority, and you eat, sleep, pray, being a servant of the Lord, and feeling subservient and submissive, then if you are excited about anything. So I had to really keep my creative, like my love for the arts and for acting and music and all of those kind of things kind of on the down low. So when I went to college, you know, it was actually really difficult. I had 3 jobs. There was a bunch of churches in the area, like right near the campus. So I, you know, kind of got involved with church, and I did meet some Christian friends. I did make some Christian friends. And I will say this about the Christian community. Oh my goodness. They are so generous. Christians, I feel like they are stereotypically really generous, and they love to bless people and meet each other's needs and like miraculously like help each other. And it's just that part is super beautiful. Yeah. And they really came through for me. Like a lot of friends, like I had nowhere to go during holidays, during school breaks. I didn't have a family. So there were people that like brand new friends that would help me and take me in and let me do holidays with their families, or let me sleep on their couch or their guest bedroom when I didn't have any place to go. I'm forever thankful for that, because that generosity really was this foundation for like my new life. Like I don't know what I would have done without that. There was someone that came through for me, and they're like, my dad decided to fix your car, and he paid like $600 to fix, didn't even know me, and he just paid $600 to get my car fixed. I was just this little teenager, and I didn't have anyone. So there were things like that happened, and that's when that's what one of the things that has always stuck with me is that, you know, the divine has always been there and has always taken care of me and has always provided, and you know, will always provide. I will always have everything I need. One of the reasons why is because I'm resourceful, because I made those Christian friends, but I knew where to go. I knew that to go to the Christian community because they are generous. They do care. You know, they might not be right all the time, but who is? But you know, they do care. So for the most part, or these people did anyway. So after college, you know, like I said, was really difficult. I had, you know, constantly 3 jobs. I was a worship leader as well. And I was touring with one of the ministers and kind of opening for his sermons. He was kind of a bigger minister in the, like, had like a mega church in the area. And so I did get a record deal. I moved here for music. So that's why I moved to Nashville. And so I moved here when I was 21. I moved here, like I said, originally for music. I've always been like a songwriter. And, you know, I've always done music or things like that. And when I moved here, I really fell in love with the city, and I've been here ever since. So that's where my Southern accent comes from. But yeah, I've been here for like 16 years. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So it's changed a lot in the 16 years. Yeah. Nashville has changed a lot. You know, it's kind of unrecognizable to me a little bit from when I first moved here. But you know, I still love it. I live in the city area part, and I see city lights out my bedroom window like every night. It's pretty cool.
Podcasting's not your full-time gig, obviously. Maybe you want it to be, but so what else do you do?
So I have a business here in Nashville. I am a wedding planner and a florist. Okay. And my business is called Charming Bridal. So that's what I do by day and by night, basically. But I have been working when I'm not doing that. I am working on other creative projects, and you know, to kind of continue my healing journey and to continue encouraging people that have, experienced this type of, spiritual, religious abuse, whatever you want to call it. Or really, it's been encouraging people that have been through any kind of abuse, that have experienced any kind of pain or, but, so I've been writing and I'm not really sure exactly what project is what I'm going to work on next. It's kind of exciting, but yes, I work on the weddings as well, and they're fabulous. It's a beautiful place to get married. A lot of people have destination weddings here.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, I think, of course it's super fun to have your wedding here, and then people go downtown or go see a bunch of things, the weekend before or whatever. But, so a lot of people, they want that barn wedding. So they'll come here. I've done a lot of destination weddings here, which is, it kind of blows my mind, because I'm just like, why aren't you going to the beach? But people love it here. They a lot of people are like, well, we come here every year. We love it. We want to get married here.
So, hey, let's get to wrapping up here. So I definitely, I hope you decide to continue on and do more podcasts, because I'd love to hear more of your story anyway. And maybe you have that in your book. So maybe I just need to pick that up and read it. So the one thing we haven't talked about is how listeners can actually find your podcast.
Yes. So my podcast is called Cult in Connecticut, and it can be found pretty much on every major podcast platform, Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of the major podcast platforms, called Cult in Connecticut. It's 8 episodes. They're 8 short episodes. And then my book is a short memoir. It's called The Cult in My Living Room. And I didn't want to call it Cult in Connecticut, because I feel like Cult in Connecticut kind of belongs to all of the contributors. It's not just my story, The Cult in My Living Room is a little short memoir that you can pick up. It's like cheap, and it's on Amazon.
Awesome. Well, I'll put a link to the book, as well as to I believe you have a website too, coltonconnecticut.com, which has a link to your podcast.